Okay, so this I'd like to call to order the Wenham Select Board meeting of December 14th, 2021. It is 6:30 p.m. This meeting is a virtual meeting via Zoom. And as such, all our votes will be roll call votes. We have in attendance our select board, Gary Cheeseman, Diane Bucco, myself, Catherine Harrison. Raise your hands and we'll know who you are. Thank you for being here. And we have Margaret Hoffman is actually administering this, or running the Zoom tonight. We have a few other staff members who will be available to help us with some of the reports. Before we start the formal, I guess the more formal, more standard agenda, I need to make an announcement for the public as well as for the record. Last evening, the select board has placed the town administrator, Ryan Ferrara, on paid administrative leave, effective immediately and until further notice. As this is an ongoing personnel matter, the board will not have further comment at this time. Okay, that being said, we will move on to the basic part of our meeting, and we can take, I think the first slide after this, Margaret, should be a public input slide. If you can.
Can you see that now, the public input slide?
No, cannot. We can still see select.
Let me do it again.
It's okay, it gives people a chance to think about if they have any public input. While we're waiting for this, I'll repeat because there are some non-members in the audience. We will take public input for items not on the agenda at this point. We do have a number of licenses, both car dealer renewals, used car dealer renewals, and liquor license renewals. We will also be taking public input at the end of the discussion for each one of these licenses and before we take make a motion or take a motion. So folks who have something they'd like to say about any one of these license renewals can do so at that time. At this time, we're looking at public input for items that are not on the agenda. Is there any, if you would like to say something, make a comment or have a question, please put your name in the chat room and Margaret will look out for that and let me know.
Catherine, can you see that slide now that says public input?
I can, yeah.
Okay. Very good.
Do we have anyone in the chat that might be interested in, that has their name in the chat?
No, there's no one in the chat right now.
Okay, well, I'm going to move on. I will proceed with the announcements. If you could go on to the next slide, please. So some of these are familiar. First announcement has to do with board and committee openings. We do have openings on a number of boards and committees. If you are interested, if anyone is interested in serving, please go to our appointment request Google form, which is found at wenhamma.gov/volunteer, or you can send an email to the attention of the select board at admin@wenhamma.gov. Next. A reminder that this Saturday morning at 8:30 is presently scheduled to be a capital budget meeting. It'll be a Zoom meeting. So the capital budgets, the department heads will be there, and they will present preliminary information on their capital budgets. I noticed that we haven't mentioned here, and I believe this is still happening, that at noon on that day, on Saturday, we have wreaths across America at the main Wenham Cemetery, which is, I believe, open to the public, and a very, I think, meaningful opportunity for us to recognize the veterans at their graves. And I see Gary nodding, so I guess
Yes,
I got that.
that is correct.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Moving to the next announcement. Our COVID announcement, please, if you would, in addition to the information that we have here about the vaccine appointment clinics, Any other information relevant that's updated regularly about COVID in Wenham is again on the website wenhamma.gov/COVID. And you can sign up for vaccine clinics there or just check on current cases. As a little bit of an aside to that, I have reached out to our public health nurse to see if she can give us an update, but unfortunately for all of us, she's been exceedingly busy dealing with contact tracing of, increasing number of cases. So just as soon as she has some bandwidth, she'll be joining us to give us an in-person update on COVID. Okay, so that's the announcements. We have reports. Did we skip reports?
Nope, it's all set now.
There we go. So I have a good news, just one report as relative to a chair's report, and it's a good news report. Following this daily, we received notification that the citizens petition relative to the recall petition has made its way to the governor's desk. So through the House to the Senate, back to the House for enactment, back to the Senate for enactment, now on the governor's desk. The ball's in our court. Briefly, they write back to us and just want us to confirm that what they approved is what we wrote, or at least acceptable to us. I just got that today. So we'll be doing that, confirming that tomorrow, and expect that the governor, he would need to sign it within 10 days. And I have on good authority that he has no reason not to sign it. So that recall petition should be enacted and approved by the governor very soon. It's been a little long wait, but glad that that's made it through. That's all I have tonight on this sort of busy night for a chair's report. Gary or Diane, do you have anything that you would like to report on?
I do not at this time.
Okay, Gary?
Nor I.
Okay, so we'll move from reports. Now we have the consent agenda. Diane?
I move to approve the Wenham Select Board meeting open session minutes for November 20th, 2021, the workshop, December 1st, 2021, and December 7th, 2021.
Second.
Okay, we'll take a vote. We'll go to a vote. Diane?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Catherine? Yes. So unanimous approval of these minutes. Again, thank you as always, Catherine Tinsley, and also Diane for reading through all of these and making any appropriate comments. Okay, so now I just need to skip through 20 pages here and get to the next item, which is used. The first part of our license renewals are used car dealer license renewals, and I think we'll sort of discuss or each one of them individually and then vote. Often we have a representative from these institutions at this meeting. I can't see everyone. Is there anyone from Burnett's Garage here to speak to this license? Okay, well, I don't think that's a requirement unless we have questions. So I will move to go to well, so let me just back up a second. All of the documentation for Burnett's Garage is in place. It's in our packets. It has been inspected. We do have our building commissioner with us here, but they've been inspected by him for zoning compliance, also by the police and fire. And in the case of Burnett's Garage, correct me if I'm wrong about yours, Rich, everything seems to be in compliance and all the paperwork appears to be in order.
Correct.
Yes. Okay. So Gary, or I won't say Gary or Diane, that's not fair. Diane, do you have any comment on this used car dealer license renewal?
I do not see any issues with that, no.
Okay, and Gary, do you have any questions or comments?
No questions. One of our longest term businesses in town.
Yes, it is. So are folks comfortable with voting on this particular license renewal absent a representative?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so we'll take, and is there anyone, I guess not, anyone who's on this call that would like to, from the public, who would like to make a comment or speak to this particular renewal. If you do, please put your name in the chat. Or you could use the raise hand function, and Margaret, I'd have to ask for your help because at this point I can't really see everyone.
I
Okay,
don't see anyone in the chat right now.
okay, so we'll take a motion for Burnett's, please. We should
Do we
it on
have
the-
this
Yeah,
slide?
it's on the front page.
Yep.
It's the one that's on the screen right now.
There it
has
is,
all
got it.
three motions.
All right. So move to approve the 2022 annual used car dealer license for Burnett's Garage Incorporated.
Second,
Okay. Further discussion or comments? Probably not. We'll move to a vote. Diane,
yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Catherine, yes. So unanimous for Burnett's Garage. The next one on the list is Fallon's Auto Service, which again, from a paperwork point of view, appears to have everything in order. Fire, police, and yes, Rich, code enforcement.
Yes, no issues.
No issues. Okay. Is there anyone from Fallon's Auto Service on this call tonight? Okay. I think we might have had might have a communication issue, but again, if there are no questions, we will. If the board has no questions, we can proceed. So Gary, questions or comments on Fallon's application?
No, we're ready.
Okay, Diane.
No, I'm ready.
Okay, so we will proceed. Oh, well, I'm sorry. We'll ask if there's anyone in the public who has any comment about Fallon's Auto Service license renewal. Seeing none, hearing nothing from Margaret. I guess we'll proceed to a vote. Up to a motion. I
Motion,
don't think we had the motion yet.
All right.
Sorry.
Move to approve the 2022 annual used car dealer license for Fallon's Auto Service Incorporated.
second,
Okay, all in favor, Gary,
Yes.
Diane,
yes.
Catherine, yes. Okay, the last one is Freeman's Garage. Is there anyone from a representative from Freeman's Garage here tonight? Okay. I will say in advance, from my point of view, that may be a little problematic. I have some questions that would require some discussion, but we'll move as far as we can. By way of introduction, the paperwork is all in place and compliant. I have asked our building commissioner, Rich Maloney, to be here because in the case of Freeman's Garage, we've had I don't know, ongoing since the spring, early summer. Now, I guess resolved issue on that property with the storage of, I call it junk. So I'm going to ask Rich if you would just take a moment, please, and describe to us what that issue was and how it has proceeded, if that's okay.
Good evening,
Thank you.
board. I was out at Freeman's. I was introduced to the place back in May of this year when I was out here on an intern basis. So we got a zoning complaint and I was sent out there, and it was my first lay of the land there. And the file's pretty extensive here on that property. So I went out there, and the issue was when I had to confirm the amount of cars, which at that time was very confusing between the two properties, what were private cars, what were cars for sale, whose was what, and then the amount of non-cars or junk, or whatever you want to call it, stuff on the properties. So at that point, I was confused. I requested some more data from the owner. We didn't get that for a while. We had a meeting out there and recently, and the car count was way down, so it was a lot easier to get a grasp on the property. There were only 13 cars there. There were no cars out front. But I did have to go out there this time, on my second visit. I took a tape measure because I had to actually measure and calculate the amount of, I don't know what you want to call it, stuff in the yard. So on 34, as you read the bylaw, you're allowed to have up to 600 square feet of storage outside your house on a residential property. So at 34, there was, under 600. So it met the requirement of the bylaw. On 36, there was probably half of that, probably 300 square feet of storage outside, non-car related. So that's where we're at. It looks like there's been a history of this for a while. So currently, right now, we are in compliance with the bylaw.
Okay. So, I've been a student of this particular property and the issues that have been involved for a number of years. And I'm happy to say that from the strictly from the standpoint of numbers of cars, there has been an improvement in compliance, and to the point where we're compliant with that and with the documentation that he needs. So that's a great advancement. The issue of debris, junk, whatever you want to call it, as Rich suggested, is a long-term issue, years and years, and something that's brought up every year and seems to sort of, if necessary, get cleaned up in time for this renewal, but then may not stay that way over the course of the year. Having a used car dealership, which he's had and run through his father back many years, is a privilege that he has had, that family has had for many years. But I'm concerned about the junk. And I know I'll call it junk because I believe it's scrap metal, parts, miscellaneous, it's stuff. I have asked Freeman on a couple of occasions if he sells this scrap, and he has advised us that he is not selling it, which is good because he is not entitled to do that without a permit, as he is not entitled to, I believe, even store, if I'm right, Rich, anything more than 600 square feet. But that amount, when you think about a property in the middle of a residential area, we're talking 900 square feet of debris, is an eyesore, and we continue and have continued even this year to receive complaints about that. It would be nice if he would voluntarily clean up that property. However, we've not really been successful with that. What I would like to propose, but again, I don't think we can act on tonight, or maybe we can if we just want to ignore him, is that we make as a condition for the license, leave the car dealer license itself the same. He has several conditions on it now, having to do with that have been added, having to do with employees, contractors, etc. And I would like to add a condition that at the very least, the amount of uncovered junk is limited. The bylaw says 600 square feet per property. So technically, as Rich said, he has under 600 on 34, and now and about 300 square feet, I think you said, on 36. My
Correct.
issue with that is that's two separate addresses, but the license is written for 34/36. So the notion that he can have that limit on both of those properties is a problem for me. I'd like us, if we could have some discussion around, and obviously a problem for the neighbors. I would like to have a discussion around adding a condition that that reduces or eliminates even the amount of uncovered material, junk, that he can have on his yard. So I'll just put that out there. If Diane, it's hard, not necessarily knowing the history of this. But anyway, if you have any thoughts on that particular condition.
I have a
which-
couple of questions, just want to
Sure.
clarify. So the bylaw states 600 square feet of debris per a certain amount of area or per household or per business? What was that exactly about the bylaw?
Per residential lot.
Per residential lot? Okay, so the bylaw states one thing per residential lot. And then you mentioned that the license itself is actually one license, even though it's two lots.
Correct. It's Freeman's Garage, 34 and 36 Arbor Street is the way the license is written. And of course, he uses both properties, the back of both properties to store cars. So, essentially he is using both of those as one in his business.
I guess it would be interesting to me to see when that license started and if it was started at one residential address and when it became two residential addresses. But it's kind of in the middle there of, do we follow the bylaw exactly, or do we make a change due to just this one circumstance?
Well, I think that the license predates all of us, literally. It's actually a grandfathered in license. If someone were at that address, either of those addresses were to apply for a used car license today, they would not get it, most likely.
Because of the
So
district?
it's a residential zoning, but it's been grandfathered in. And so he has that used car license. And the junk, frankly, has been controversial. Over the years, there's been issues of some thoughts that he's selling from there. And I've been told that I think maybe Rich can confirm this. I've been told that despite the bylaw, since he has since he has a license there and the select board has authority over the license, that we can add a condition, pretty much any reasonable condition to this license. So we have
So it's
the right to do it.
grandfathered in. I understand that, but I'm still curious, and I don't know how we would find out. I would imagine that it started at one residence and at some point it grew and then became grandfathered in.
I
So
don't know. I don't know the answer
I
to
wouldn't
that.
really have a problem putting another condition on it if you were all in agreement with that.
Gary, any thoughts?
So your proposal would be to put the restriction on limiting it to 600 square feet for the combined lots?
That would be one option.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the number of square feet could be at our discretion. If we consider it two lots, we could say 600 for the whole property. Yeah.
Why would you think that, as we're issuing the license as sort of a combination, that obviously any restrictions we put on should be considered as a combination of lots. So I would see it, at the maximum, 600 square feet for the combined 34, 36 Arbor Street.
Okay. All right. Normally at this point, again, we can make this motion and make this change without the dealer being present. And we pretty much have to, because we have to take some action on this because this license will expire at the end of this month. But before we contemplate a motion, and I actually in this case have one that I could offer, is there anyone on the call in the public who would like to make any comment? If you put your name in the chat or do the raise hand function.
Hello,
Okay, can you identify yourself?
this is Dennis Curran from 32 Arbor Street.
Hi, Dennis. A little dark there. Did you have something you wanted to comment about Freeman?
Yeah. I think this is a great motion. Mr. Freeman has been kind of a habitual offender, and he manages to clean up just in time for the December meetings, and then, you know, it starts all over again. You know, this is a step in the right direction. I know, and we've lived here, my wife's lived here all her life in this house. And when the father owned the business, it was not like that. And so we're just looking to get some type of order and cleanliness over there, so that when we have guests over our house, they're not asking us what the heck is going on over there. But we also own 38, and it's, you know, it's obviously it's an eyesore for the whole community. You know, you know, whatever we can do to help move this along would be great. But then we also need, you know, I don't want to be the policeman about it. You know, he's proven in his actions in the past that, okay, he gets his license and then he goes back to business as usual and bringing the trash back in slowly but surely. I was wondering if there was some way we can put a stopgap on that, so that, hey, listen, time to pay attention. You're not going to get this every year because your grandfathered in. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comment. So I think if I understand Dennis's, Mr. Curran's question, he's concerned about enforcement. And I think Rich is probably concerned about enforcement as well, and the number of times he would have to go out and visit. But I don't actually know if there's any further penalty we can put on a new condition other than if you don't, you know, requesting periodic updates or, you know, inspections. And if he doesn't meet them, he will lose his license at the next, his license will not be renewed. Are there other, I guess this is Margaret or Rich, are there other possible enforcement avenues that we have? Anybody? Rich, do you know of anything?
Well, the zoning is one thing, but if it's part of the Class 2 dealer's license condition, it may be by a ticket by the police.
Ah, okay. Okay. So Margaret, do you have any other information, being the expert in all things land use?
No, the only thing I have is, as far as the zoning goes, it's regulated under the definition of a junkyard. So if he does go over 600 feet, then he'd be required to get a permit as a junkyard from the select board. But other than that, that's all we have for zoning.
Okay. So understanding that this probably will require more inspections than the average property that you have to look at, Rich, does conditioning no more than 600 square feet of area combined on both properties, does that create an undue burden on your work by having to kind of check that every once in a while?
Yeah, no, I mean, normally we do it once a year anyway. We go out for any complaint anywhere in town. So, you know, if it's a complaint, we could follow up on it. And like I said, the actual remedy may, because it's a Class 2 dealer's license, maybe with the police and a ticket through their department.
Right. Okay. I think another advantage of it being combined on one property is that Rich only has to go out and measure with his tape one pile rather than two, and it might be easier to visualize. So with that discussion, yeah.
Catherine, excuse me, I just have one other thing.
Sure.
Is it possible for you to give him a deadline to remove the excess debris?
Oh,
If he's got,
yes.
if you think 900 over the two properties, Rich, do you think he needs a deadline to remove that extra 300?
I think that's reasonable.
I do too.
Maybe come up with a deadline for him.
Does 60 days sound like enough time? A reasonable amount of time for him to
Sure.
remove that?
Yes.
Okay.
60 days.
So I'm just making a note here. So the motion could read something like, I move to approve the 2022 annual used car dealer license for Freeman's Garage with the following condition. No more than 600 square feet of area combined on both properties shall be used for outdoor storage. Other conditions from the 2021 used car dealer's license shall remain in effect. Excess, I guess we're calling it debris, must be removed from the property within 60 days of
I'm sorry,
Okay.
I think I might make a slight amendment to that,
please, yeah,
that to say that rather than outdoor storage of junk or, or I think junk is the word we use.
okay.
Just-
I'm always at a little bit of a
So it's
loss.
not getting confused with outdoor storage of his automobile or something.
Right,
Rich,
and
do you agree with that?
I would just say outdoor storage. The cars are one thing and then outdoor storage is another.
Okay, so just outdoor
Okay.
storage is appropriate language.
okay, so we'll
All right.
leave that part of it.
Leave it there.
The 60 days, so this is actually a renewal that will go into effect on January 1st. So are we saying 60 days from today or 60 days from January 1st? What would be the typical, when that 60 days would start?
I would say from the issuance of the license, so from January
Okay.
1st.
Okay, so Catherine Tinsley, if you can just, that license, that just add to the end, excess debris must be removed from the property within 60 days from the issuance of the license. Do you have what you need for that motion?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I'll
Is
second.
there, okay, thanks. Is there any further discussion on this? Great, thanks. So we'll move to a vote. Gary,
Yes,
Diane,
Yes, I'm back.
Catherine, yes. So that license is approved with an additional condition, and we'll have to notify Mr. Freeman of that when it's ready to be issued. Okay, we'll grab next. We have liquor license renewals. I will make a note that there is one less business in town that had a liquor license. Grassy Roots is apparently no longer in town. There's been some attempts to reach out, but no response. So that license will expire on December 31st. We do have on our agenda, however, the Wenham Tea House at 4 Monument Street. Oh, no, let's do it in the order that, oh yeah, it's here. That is, folks will remember that that's a pretty new license. I think, I don't know, within the last 6 months, that license was issued. So this is a renewal. Again, the paperwork that we have in our packet, everything for the tea house license renewal seems to be in order and complete. So if questions from Gary
No.
or Diane? Rich,
Nope.
I know you've actually inspected this when it was originally opened, I presume, from a zoning point of view. But
Yes,
not necessarily.
they put in a new kitchen exhaust system over the summer, so I've been in there multiple times, and then we did the annual inspection when we finalized the kitchen exhaust. So it's a great improvement to the property,
Yeah.
much safer, and place looks great.
Yeah, everyone seems to be very happy that it's there. Okay, so is there anyone in the viewing audience that would like to make a comment or ask a question about the Wenham Tea House liquor license renewal? You can put your name in the chat, giving folks a second to do that. If not, nothing, right, Margaret?
No one in the chat right now.
all right.
Okay, we'll have a motion then.
Move to approve the 2022 annual liquor license renewal for the Wenham Tea House.
I second it, but I actually have a comment after that.
Yes, and before, so we'll have a look, okay, do you have, there's, I believe you have a connection to the tea house, Diane. So there's some question, have you filed paperwork? Or do you
I
wish to
have not,
recuse
so
yourself?
I will recuse, yes, recuse myself.
Okay.
Yes, but I just
Been
want,
in that chair a few times, but yeah,
is the license, I can't seem to get back to it now with my computers going funny. It should be under the name High Teas. Is that the name that it's under? I believe that there was a question on that.
Yes,
High
It is,
Teas
okay.
LLC.
Thank you. And otherwise I can second, I think, but I can't vote. Correct?
Well, since we'll go with that.
Okay.
I can see Catherine's eyes rolling, even though I can't see Catherine.
Okay.
It's a little
Sorry.
unusual. You should, we'll talk about that offline. But are there further comments on the substance of this renewal? If not, Gary and I will vote, I guess. So Gary,
so do you want to, Catherine, you want to second it first so that
I'll
there's
second
no
it.
questions?
I will
All right.
second it. Yeah.
I
yes.
vote yes.
Catherine votes yes as well, with a recusal by Diane. So that liquor license is renewed.
And I will check on the disclosure form for that. I'm sorry. I let that
Yeah.
slip.
Yeah, it's okay. Been there. Okay, so the last license that we have is 97 Market Inc. I'm going to try one more time, Albert, to pronounce your last name. I think this is like 5 years. Abdelmalek? Is
Yes,
that
you
right?
heard me?
Okay, so Albert is here with us.
Yep.
He's the operator of this particular establishment. Again, relative to our packets, all of the paperwork appears to be in order. I think there was a question about some fire safety equipment, but I believe, at least we're told, that that's been resolved. So is there anything that you'd like to add, Albert?
Yeah, I'd like for a request to sell beer and wine in a certain 8 o'clock in the morning. If I can do that.
Change the opening time till 8 o'clock in the morning? Is that
Yeah,
what you said?
yeah. The only problem, only in the summertime, some people come from like to buy some beer to go to the beach or to go fishing. They know that every town is 8 o'clock, but when they come, they don't believe me. They say like everywhere 8 o'clock. That's the only issue I asked for.
Gary, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I don't see any reason why not. I mean, if it's typical around, and I don't think it really would affect that many people.
Diane?
I'm not buying beer at 8 o'clock in the morning, but I guess somebody must be. And I'd hate for them to go somewhere else and not be able to stop right at 97, you know.
I would normally be a little uncomfortable with this, but this establishment, 97 Market with Albert, has been exemplary in its compliance and its neighborliness. It's also in a residential neighborhood in essence. But this business has really been an asset to the town, and we're really happy to have you here. So that being said, I don't have a problem with that. We just will have to, I guess, approve an amended. I actually now I'm lost on process. I don't know how we might have to approve this liquor license, and then there might need to be an amendment to the liquor license. I think.
I can
Yeah.
come after, like I can after to make another request after I renew my license.
Yeah, I think my recollection, and the ABCC board is tricky, but I don't think that we can at this point, without more paperwork with the state, amend the license. But we can certainly approve this, and at our next opportunity, we'll find out the right process for you to ask for an amendment. It sounds like you have agreement with that, and I just want to be sure that we have all the right paperwork so that we can do that. And certainly we could do it before the summer. It would be possibly at our next meeting. So if that's okay with you, we'll go ahead and do that.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Okay. Is there anyone on the call I think I've done this for every license. Is there anyone on this meeting, in this meeting, who has any public comment on this particular, not the change yet, but on the, just the liquor license renewal? I don't see anyone. So we will take a motion for the 97 Market Inc.
All right, move to approve the 2022 annual liquor license renewal for 97 Market Incorporated.
Second.
Further comments or questions? Oh, we'll perhaps make a note for the minutes that we are likely to expect a request for an amendment to this liquor license that will be addressed at a later meeting. Okay, moved and seconded. We'll go to a vote. Diane,
Yes.
Carrie,
Yes,
Catherine, yes. All right, great. Thank you very much. We'll look forward to seeing you. And someone will get back to you about whatever process is necessary to do that. Okay. So we have made it through the licenses. Thank you very much for that. And thank you very much, Rich, for joining us for that. I think we're good. You're welcome to stay, but we know we've taken up a lot of your time.
Okay,
tonight.
everybody have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. So the next item on our agenda is the select a presentation and recommendation to the select board for appointment of a DPW director to replace our retiring DPW director, Bill Tyak, who's retiring at the end of this month, very soon. In Ryan's absence, I'm going to, since we have a member of the board who actually sat on the, two members, a member of the board and a staff member, Margaret and Gary, who actually sat on the committee that was involved with the interviewing and the recommendation for this. If I may, Gary, I'm going to turn it over to you to give us a little bit of background and information. And by the way, before Mr. Souza is here, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, Gary, I'm sorry.
so the screening committee went through several written resumes and then did in-person interviews. And my understanding from the meetings was that Rich Souza was a unanimous choice of the screening committee. He comes to us with a long resume of both practical experience as well as management experience in the realm of public works. And I highly recommend his appointment to this position. Margaret Hoffman was also on the screening committee. Do you have any other comments, Margaret?
Nothing too much. I agree with all of Gary's comments. We thought Rich had a wonderful interview. He seems well qualified, again, both in technical experience and management. So I think we all unanimously thought he would do a great job. I'd like to welcome him.
Thank you.
So Diane, do you have any questions that you'd like to ask at this point?
Nope. I trust this wonderful group.
I do too, and I commend the process. You know, we like to think that the way to get to the right candidate is to go through a somewhat thorough process, and this is a process that involved several people from different departments, including a select board member, and to hear Rich. May I call you Rich?
Yeah, I usually go by Rich. Thank you.
Okay. To hear the sort of glowing remarks and the unanimous endorsement, and also the combination for me of management and actual on the ground skills is very important for Wenham right now. I know you've had a number of conversations, so I have nothing further to add to the comments, which means I think that we are ready for a motion.
Okay, move to appoint Richard Souza as DPW director contingent upon the successful completion of contract negotiations, Corey and Sorry checks, and physical drug screenings with a proposed start date of Monday, January 10th, 2022.
I second that.
And just to confirm, Rich, that date is the date that you would be starting, January 10th? Just so we have the
Correct,
motion.
the 10th, yep.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. We will, the board will be discussing, beginning discussions of the contract negotiation in an executive session at the end of this meeting. And so we'll, we'll be in contact relative to that after we do the executive session and after we vote. So to close this loop, let us take a vote on the appointment of Richard Souza as DPW director. Gary?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Catherine? Yes. Thank you and congratulations. It seems, we don't interview department heads as a select board, we take recommendations. And so it seemed like that was very short, but believe me, we know that thorough work has been done. So.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very excited for the opportunity.
Welcome.
Great.
Welcome.
I'm confident that we'll get through the final details that we've got to do here. We'll be in touch. Look
Sounds
forward to
good.
it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That is exciting, I must say. His resume is impressive. Okay, I think I'm supposed to do at this point what the agenda says, the next item on the agenda, and this will be pretty brief, a brief review of a quite long meeting. But this is an update from, so on December 8th, we had a multi-board, it actually was a quint board meeting with the Board of Selectmen and the FinCom from the town of Hamilton, the Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee, as well as the school district the superintendent and finance curriculum director of curriculum for finance director. What is he called? Assistant
Director of
Superintendent for
Finance.
Finance and Facilities. Okay, I'd get it on the third time. Vinny was there, as well as the Wenham Select Board and the Wenham FinCom. So all 35 of us gathered on Zoom. And just for highlights of the meeting, it was really that this meeting, especially this format, is intended to really be sort of an introduction to information and a pretty high level information exchange, because that's the only thing that's practical. Diane and Gary, you were both there. So after my brief comments, if you want to add anything or jump in, we most of the time was spent on a presentation by Vinnie Leone, the Assistant Superintendent for Finance, based on the school district's superintendent initial, oh my gosh, long day, initial FY23 budget recommendation. This recommendation had already been made to the school committee and he was reiterating it for us. It was, I thought, a very good presentation. Highlights, one of the things, actually is a highlight in this case for Wenham. Every year, an assessment shift is calculated based on enrollment. Our apportionment for the schools is based on a 3-year rolling average, and sometimes one town has a bigger or smaller increase. We were told for FY23, Hamilton, the enrollment shift was, I guess, in the favor of Wenham in terms of dollars. So Hamilton's assessment will increase according to this proposal, which has not yet been approved by the school committee, 1.49%, and Wenham's assessment will actually decrease by 2.7. It doesn't mean the total dollars, just this year's assessment. So that will be helpful to us, considering the past few years, it's been the opposite. I always say when I talk about enrollment shift that this is not a function of the school district's operational budget or its operations. It's a function of how many kids from each town are in the school. So, but it's helpful to the budget, to our budget when it goes in that direction. Mr. Leone briefly talked about budget challenges that he listed. In particular, he talked about salaries and contracts, increased technology needs, also facilities issues, and of some import, an expiring transportation contract, which is in this time of the world a difficult to get a bus contract is difficult. So those are what he highlighted as the challenges for the school district. The other thing he highlighted, and again, I'm going to do this at a very high level because we could get into a rabbit hole very quickly, but due to several situations, the excess and deficiency fund for the school district is quite high right now, to the tune of $4 million. That is a bit based on some assessments or some numbers that the school district had to predict relative to how much Chapter 70, how much revenue they would be receiving. So they were based with making a decision on that at one point in time. And when the time came, they actually received more Chapter 70. So there are a number of factors that went into this highly unusual amount of excess and deficiency. They have a policy to retain 3% of that and return the rest to the town. They're discussing, I guess, think it's fair to say they're discussing with the towns the most efficient, best way to distribute the excess and deficiency above 3%. So there was quite a bit of discussion about that. There were questions. So there was exceedingly brief presentations by both towns because it was really focused on the school. Jim Purdy gave a very short presentation on our budget challenges for this year, which I think will not be a surprise to anyone on this board. And Hamilton expressed concern that they were bumping up against their levy limit, and that this particular budget assessment from the school could likely push them into an override. So they expressed that concern. There was some general discussion, but I think those are the highlights. Have I missed anything important that Gary or Diane think are important that I should have covered in that brief summary? Gary?
No, I think that was a good summary of the meeting. I would just point out for the public that the percentages Catherine quoted there, that applied to the student population, not to the budget.
Correct. I believe, and I'm going to forget this number, someone else is going to remember, I believe that at the moment their operating budget, their net operating budget is projected to go up overall, something like 4 or 5%. Does that sound right? Yeah, that's my recollection. So that, you're right, Gary, that's just our assessment. Any other, Diane, anything you want to add?
No, that was good.
Well,
Someone who was taking notes.
yeah, somebody was taking notes. I might have to thank Catherine Tinsley a little for helping me out with a little preview of her minutes. Okay, so that's, I think, what we have to say about new business. And I do not have any other matters that I can discuss that have been reasonably anticipated. I will say that we've already mentioned the 2 meeting dates. These are sort of in backwards order. This Thursday, there's a Finance and Advisory Committee meeting, which is posted for a select board meeting as well, in which the agenda will include presentations by the remaining department heads of their budgets. And then on Saturday morning will be a presentation of capital budget needs by the department heads and by our finance director. And Wreaths Across America, December 18th, Saturday at noontime at the cemetery. Is there anything else anybody wants to add before we adjourn to executive session? Yeah, Gary, I'm sorry. I looked down for a second.
Yeah, so I think as this is the last formal select board meeting for the year, perhaps we should just observe that the lights around town look really nice, and that the select board ought to wish everybody a happy holidays and hopefully a prosperous and less pandemic new year.
Well done,
Cheers.
Gary. Thank you. And we agree with that sentiment, because we will not meet again until, I believe it's January 4th, the first Tuesday in January. So happy holidays to everyone. So as we are going into executive session at this point, I will make a motion to adjourn the open session of the Wenham Select Board meeting and enter into executive session via a separate Zoom meeting per Chapter 30A, Section A, subsection 2 of the open meeting law, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel. That in this case would be our DPW director. We will not cover the second part of this in the second part of this executive session, but we also will not reconvene in open session.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, Gary,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Catherine, yes. So unanimous, we are going to adjourn this meeting. We'll all leave this meeting, and we should all have the link that we need to start up our executive session. And thank you.